Normal life is slowly returning to Damascus, the Syrian capital, after the city survived the opposing rebel attack, which forced President Bashar al-Assad to leave the country. Communes and the people's power mobilized in the streets of Caracas, Venezuela, to commemorate the 165th anniversary of the Battle of Santa Ines. Hundreds of protesters took to the streets of Nairobi on Tuesday to denounce rising femicide cases in Kenya, facing a violent police crackdown that left many injured. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Herrera from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. Normal life is slowly returning to Damascus, the Syrian capital, after the city survived the opposing rebel attacks, which forced President Bashar al-Assad to leave the country. Some businesses were seen resuming operations on Tuesday, including several private banks, signaling a resumption of economic activities that seems closed indefinitely. Meanwhile, several Israeli airstrikes hit different regions of Syria overnight, and Israeli troops sized aboard the buffer zone. However, Tel Aviv denied that its forces were advancing towards Damascus after they had early moved into the buffer zones inside Syria. Moving on, the Israeli occupying forces took the offensive against central and northern Gaza Strip, causing the death of over 3 Palestinians. Health sources gave accounts of the death toll, referring that 25 people were killed on Monday evening in Beit Hanun, while 7 family members were striking death due to the bombing in the Nusra refugee camp. For over 2 months, the occupying forces have prevented the entry of food and humanitarian aid for northern Gazan inhabitants. In addition, the destruction of 90% of the civilian infrastructure has forced thousands of Gazans to survive in extreme conditions, facing devastation and lack of basic resources. The Israeli genocide against the Palestinian people does not stop, according to the latest report from the Gaza's health ministry. The number of people killed in the region is nearing 45,000 since October 7, 2023. The report reveals that in over 1 year, Israel has committed 9,900 massacres in the Gaza Strip and has exterminated some 1,410 entire families, for a total of 44,786 victims. The document also informed that the Zionist attacks have claimed the life of almost 18,000 children and over 12,000 women, and left more than 100,000 civilians wounded and nearly 11,000 missing. The report described the genocide as a planned ethnic cleansing that has used hunger as a weapon of pressure. On Tuesday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu concludes his first days of testimony in his corruption trial. Netanyahu testified for the first time in a corruption trial he has been indicted for since 2020, accused in 3 separate cases of tax fraud, bravery, and breach of trust. The premier is expected to return on Wednesday. He denies any wrongdoing and says that the charges are a witch hunt orchestrated by the hostile media and outside a legal system that seeks to overthrow him. And outside the courtroom in Tel Aviv, where Netanyahu is on trial, some 200 people demonstrated and called for the resignation of the prime minister. Among the demonstrators are the leftist activists and relatives of the hostages held in Gaza. Many critics question whether the Israeli leader is capable of governing the country and his legal troubles and international arrest warrants for war crimes in Gaza and several war fronts that now includes an incursion into Syrian territory. The government of Iran warned that an contingent of U.S. territories is preparing to attack Iraq. A member of the Iranian experienced this German consul assured that the terrorist group has at least 11,000 mercenaries. He also points out that in the last 24 hours, the Israeli regime attacked at least 250 military points and infrastructure in the Syrian territory. On the other hand, the Iranian Ministry of Foreign Affairs strongly condemned the actions of the Israeli occupation army against the Syrian Golan territories. At least 2 people were killed and more than 4 injured on Tuesday in 2 chained collisions on highways in Turkey's eastern province of Van. Drivers were in difficulties due to the presence of fog and frost on the road. The accident took place in the morning on 2 sections of the Van-Ersis highway separated by 2 kilometers. According to local press report, 50 vehicles were involved in the accident, including trucks, minibuses, and vans. Videos were posted on social networks showing how the cars were left after the chain of crashes. Let's take a very short break, but remember, you can now join us on our TikTok account as teleSUR English, where you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. Communes and the People's Power mobilized in the streets of Caracas, Venezuela to commemorate the 165th anniversary of the Battle of Santa Ines. The rally was carried out to pay the tribute to the liberation battle where the forces of the revolutionary patriot Ezequiel Zamora confront the forces of the conservative General Pedro Estanislao Ramos. Peasants, fishermen, community members, workers, and students also participated in the mobilization to express their support to the historical date and the agrarian policies promoted by the President Nicolás Maduro. The President of the National Farmers Union, Rosibel Zamora, reaffirms the support of farmers to President Nicolás Maduro. The President of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, during the commemoration of the 165th anniversary of the Battle of Santa Ines, announced from the Miraflores Palace that La Casa Militar will become a militia center to create several militia brigades of this House of Honor of Bolivar.
Turning the military house into a military house with several brigades of officers of the Honor House of Bolivar, with the highest training and popular articulation, with the neighborhoods, the catacombs of the people, the organized people. Are you in agreement? Raise your hands if you agree. Approve the military character of the House of Military of the Guard of Honor founded by Bolivar, who fought in Pichincha, Carabobo, Bombona, Junin, and a day like yesterday, he fought there in Ayacucho. And he's fighting with the people today. Let's applaud all of the officers and soldiers of the military house of Venezuela, glorious and victorious.
The President of Venezuela also assured that on January the 10th, the people will take to the streets to celebrate the victory of Venezuela. Mauca, conmigo. In Brazil, union members and protesters gathered in Brasilia to voice their opposition against an amnesty request for prisoners who took part in the 2022 coup plot to prevent President Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva from taking office.
The main purpose of today's demonstration is to oppose any possibility of amnesty for those responsible for the coup attempts, and for what we can call the continuing coup that was the entire previous government.
I and all the other citizens gathered here are against any possibility of amnesty for the coup plotters, who tried to attack Brazilian democracy. With coups and assassinations against the authorities in power, we have always tried to make it very clear that this kind of anti-democratic attitude, this kind of anti-democratic planning has to be dealt with rigorously under the law.
Thousands of people marched on Tuesday in the Macedonian capital, Skopje, to demand immediate government actions or combat high levels of air pollution in the country. Wearing the gas mask and chanting slogans, the demonstrators took to the streets of the capital city after a report which considered it among the 10th most polluted cities in Europe. The protesters' demands include reduction in imports of vehicles with lower emissions standards, increasing inspections for the industrial facilities, and dealing with landfills. In addition, several environmental groups organizing the protests accuse the government of not allocating funds to fight pollution. It is almost 4,000 people in North Macedonia died each year due to the respiratory problems caused by air pollution.
I'm protesting because we don't have clean air. I protest my whole life for this, because they systematically kill every one of us, and because it's time for the government to do something for these people.
We are demanding this state, after decades poisoning, to finally undertake measures, to see how serious this situation is, to start implementing some kind of policy for decreasing of the pollution. In my view, it must clean its own yard first. The state institutions that should protect us have to stop poisoning us. The state institutions that use oil and fuel oil have to transform the way of heating.
In the United States, on Tuesday, a wind found wildfire quickly spread in Malibu in the state of California, threatening buildings and prompting evacuations. The Franklin fire broke out on Monday evening and in just hours had rapidly burned through more than 730 hectares in the coastal city. Pepperdine University said it had canceled classes and final exams for Tuesday as emergency personnel rushed to contain the blaze. Let's take our last break, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, where you'll be able to watch on interviews, sub-stories, special broadcasts, and more. Hit the subscribe button and active the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. We'll find a short break, don't go away. Welcome back. Hundreds of protesters took to the streets of Nairobi on Tuesday to denounce rising femicide cases in Kenya, facing a violent police crackdown that left many injured. Protesters chanting "Stop Femicides," gathering to the highlight the alarming number of murders of women and girls in the country as police responds with tear gas, causing chaos in the streets. Precisely, Kenya is dealing with a long-standing silent epidemic of gender-based violence, with police data showing that 97 women were killed between August and November 2024. In addition, a recent UN report revealed that Africa has the world's highest rates of partner-related femicides. On the other hand, last month, President William Ruto pledged $700,000 for a campaign to end femicides. However, activists say concrete measures are still lacking.
So far, they are tear gassing us for saying end femicide. So I think they are speaking loud and clear. You cannot say you are part of the solution, and when you try to bring solutions to you, you try to sabotage us. There's no reason why you should send armed police against people with placards who are telling you as a government, this is a problem that needs to be solved, and you're throwing tear gas at them. To what end? So the government is part of the problem, according to me.
Not be happening. We need to be safe around our men. We need to be safe when we are going for a jog in the morning. I need to be safe when I come home. I just need to be okay. I just need to feel okay around the people that I love. I need to feel okay among the people that I interact with on a day-to-day basis. Yeah.
Spain's Mediterranean Sea fishermen demonstrated a rejection of labor cuts imposed by the European Union. The National Federation of Fishermen's Guilds, together with the Shop Owners Employers Association, Pesca launched protests on Monday near the permanent headquarters of the European Commission in Madrid. The Fishing Guild rejects the restrictions in work activity to reduce from 130 to 27 working days a year from 2025. The sector denounced that these measures might represent the disappearance of fishing in the Mediterranean Sea, economically destabilizing the fishing community. In France, tertiary students and instructors are rallying on Tuesday against some parliamentarians' intentions to pass a bill by 2025 to pursue economic reforms at the expense of the higher education system. Hundreds of these protesters gathered nearby the Ministry of Higher Education to speak out against the anticipated budget cuts. Furthermore, demonstrators urge authorities to draw their attention on the urgent university needs.
We've been on a steady decline for years. We've now reached a minimum. This is the first time in at least 50 years that we've reached this minimum state budget contribution to higher education. The budget is falling steadily, despite the fact that the student population and the number of students have been rising steadily for the past 15 years. And there are absolutely urgent needs in higher education in terms of positions, but also in terms of renovating buildings that are falling into disrepair at a rapid rate.
We can already see the impact of budget cuts on intake capacity and the availability of bachelor's and master's programs. The effects are evident in the deteriorating conditions of our universities. Many campuses are in disrepair, with no funds for renovation, lecture theaters are cold, resources are limited, and there's a growing lack of supervision all to cut costs. These challenges are beginning to take a toll on students, the frustration is palpable, and the anger among students is clear. Therefore, they are demonstrating here today.
We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our socials, we're on Facebook, on X, and on Instagram as well. For Telesur English and from the South, I'm Ana Marrero. Thank you for watching.